Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Midnight Blues, the podcast for any and everyone, where we talk about any and everything. I'm your host, Deshavius Davis, and today we have a special guest, ma'am.
Hey!
What's your
You
name?
want, you didn't tell me you wanted me to introduce myself. My name is Carissa.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
So today's episode is social media and how it impacts the life of all of us day to day. So if you don't know, Miss Carissa here has a TikTok, and her following is over 100,000?
It was 140,000 last time I checked.
I mean, odd flex, but okay.
You asked me.
I'm doing my best, okay? So there's her TikTok and her your Tumblr has like over 50,000 followers?
Oh no, see, my Tumblr only has like 2,000 followers.
We'll forget about that one.
That's fine.
So for social media, like day-to-day use, it's really honestly everything. It's news, connection, jobs. How would I word this? It's basically everything that wasn't like 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago, news spread slow versus today, that people can really communicate effectively through mail back then. Like you live in California?
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago, it would have been either a phone call or mail. Now it's like an instant thing. I'm getting there. I'm in my thoughts.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I understand. You don't understand like how many times I re-record things. And the worst part is it gets to a point, especially when it comes to like TikTok, or now I'm starting to try to get into YouTube, how many times I have to re-record because I just had a complete stall out where I like just couldn't think, or I stuttered too much. It happens to everyone. The only difference is with short form social media, it's so easy to just do it until you get it right.
Yeah, like I realized like on TikTok, I literally made a video and it was like not good, edit, perfect, versus a podcast where it's the hour or like 45 minutes of just figuring everything out.
Yeah. So it's not easy to get the hang of it. It's understandable if you're not like
a pro.
I was gonna say, if you're not like, I can't think of who a podcaster is. My mind. See, I just thought out
now. I know they're scared to death. Like they do theirs, I think weekly or bi-weekly. And that first episode was kind of rough, but like gradually it progressed to like what it is now. And they're my favorite. They're my dream. So back to social media. So we've been friends for like 3 years?
Give or take, yeah. That seems about right.
3 years, and it was all accidental.
It happened through social media.
It happened through social media because you thought it was someone else.
Hey, it is what it is. It worked out in the end.
It did. But like I feel like my favorite aspect of social media is the fact that you can easily make friends. It's like literally my friends list on Facebook is people I've never met, but people that shitpost just as much as I do, so it works out in the end.
It's interesting that you say that because I feel like my social media, like, it's all catered to different audiences. So my Facebook is for people who actually know me, and I treat it more so like a journal or diary of just like life event. And then media like TikTok or Instagram is mostly people I don't know, and that's where I'm just like, doing different stuff for different apps.
Mine is like the reverse. It's like for me, Twitter is like my diary because Twitter is you as you can be, and Facebook is like how would I word that? People that know you and don't know you, but it's never like fully you, if that makes sense.
I mean, in a sense, no social media is fully you. We're all catering to something, or we're not like putting literally everything up there.
It's the validation from random strangers that make us all who we are. But I feel like looking back versus from like middle school to now, it has been, I guess, a change for social media to see how everything's played out. Like you said, it's more of a diary thing versus anything else. It's like Facebook literally started growing for our generation anyway, like outside of 2008 and up. Before that, it was MySpace. We were all pro coders. And before that, there was like nothing.
I was too poor to have the internet when MySpace was a thing. So I never got to jump on that trend. I just got a Facebook right when it started picking up in our like age group because I had a shitty little Android phone that could log in. But before that, I was pretty much like non-existent in the social media realm.
And look at you now, though. Like it's different now. Like you amass a following from then.
I don't know if it's comparable to like some of the actual like social media influencers, but even though I know a lot of people see my face on a regular basis, it's still like I still don't think about like that. Like I can't comprehend that. that so many people have seen my
In your
face.
face.
Yes.
That's like, I guess it's not a bad aspect because it's like you, in your case, like on TikTok, you have over 140,000 people. A few you do know, but like 5 or 6. But like past that, it's like over like this limit of people that you've never met. But it's like you're like the first face they see in the morning every now and then.
You know, it's crazy. I actually got a comment the other day from someone who's like, I like watching your TikToks every day. Like, you're just wholesome and it makes my day. And I was just like, I don't know to what extent this person is serious. That's what I always wonder when people like leave me nice comments or they'll DM me on Instagram telling me that I inspired them or something. I'm just like, did my 60-second TikTok really do that much? Or are people just like gassing me up? I don't know.
I mean, if we're being honest, though, like on TikTok, I have seen TikToks that have made me cry in 15 seconds. So it's like probably.
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. I've seen TikToks that have given me emotional reactions, whether it's seeing someone who looks like me doing really well at something, like maybe a plus size woman, maybe a Black woman, you know, maybe even someone with albinism. I've seen a few people with albinism on TikTok, and that I understand where people are coming from when they reach out to me because, you know, the norm is like this skinny little teenage white girls doing the savage dance. You know, you don't always get to see someone who looks like you.
Yeah, you're right about that. Because that's weird to think about. The more I think about it now, because it's like before, you never really met people that you can relate to, and then suddenly it's like all over the place. It's all over Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, like every social media, and it's like at that point, it's like a door opened for everything.
I think it is so interesting, especially when it comes to TikTok in particular. I feel like part of the reason it's so addicting is that dang algorithm, because you know, you stay on it long enough and your feed slowly becomes catered to you, and all of a sudden maybe you're a gay kid who's never really been around too many other out gay kids, and your feed is full of gay people just having a good time and like living their best lives, and it makes you feel so validated. Or, you know, like me, I said like plus size women, like you see plus size women doing like little bikini hauls, and on other social media it's the fakest, the most face-tuned, the skinniest who are going to be on the like main feed.
Yeah, it's like how Instagram shows like plus size models, but it's like literally like size 4, like that kind of thing.
You know, it's insane. So a plus size model, their standard size, because you know how like straight size models have like a standard size of, I don't really know what it is, but the standard size for a plus size model is a 1X, which actually is kind of small. Like, I haven't been a 1X in a while, to be honest, but I think a 1X probably would range from like a size 12 to 16 in pants.
I don't know pant sizes, so you got me on that.
Well, if there's any ladies listening, you know exactly what I mean. A 12 to 16, I mean, I'm not ashamed to tell you my pant size. My pant size is like a 20. So, and I don't really know anybody like celebrity-wise I could say who's a 16 off the top of my head, but just not really that big.
There's, what is her name? Oh my God.
Ashley Graham might be a 1X.
Her.
She's also very tall though, so that kind of adds to it.
I mean, there's many tall models.
But being like a 1X and tall, it looks a lot different than I imagine being a 1X and like short.
I mean, if we're being real, you're kind of tall too.
No, I am tall. That's why I get really self-conscious when people see me for the first time in public who have maybe like seen me off social media, because one of the first comments I always get is, "Oh, you're so tall," and I'm just like, yeah, I'm a big woman. I don't know how to convey this to anybody any clearer.
I don't know, because like my first thought was like, you're like 5'6", and I was like, no, like we're almost the same height.
Yeah, I feel like part of it is the angles I do like make stuff on, because I do kind of angle stuff down. It makes me look a little shorter sometimes, but man, I'm trying my best. Nobody wants the camera to be like underneath their chin.
I mean, some might, depending on the job.
Some say people who have like a jawline made of steel, maybe.
See, exactly. Them. Give me 1 second to detail this real quick.
Oh.
So, question: would you say that social media has, I want to say, changed your life? That's like too basic of a question. Has it kind of like influenced the way you think?
The way I think, yeah, I would say that social media has changed the way I think. In a few ways, honestly, it's changed the way I think about myself in a sense. It's like for the good and the bad, because on one hand, it really highlights what makes me different from people, and sometimes that can be kind of not the best for my mental health. Just constantly being reminded how you are different. But then again, it's those differences that draw people to me. It's those differences that make people want to message me and let me know how much I inspired them or how much it meant to them to see somebody who looked like them. And then that kind of makes it all worth it. And it changed my idea of what uniqueness means to society,
Mhm.
because it can actually be so inspiring to see someone who isn't trying to fit a cookie cutter mold. And I've also learned to see that in other people. So I say it's changed the way that I look at things.
Agreed. I mean, looking back, because I know it was either last year or like the year before, you made a post on Tumblr about like albinism,
Mm-hmm.
and you got like this, I guess, question, well, comment about how you basically influenced them to like be more outward about themselves.
Yeah, I get messages and comments like that all the time, and they genuinely, some of them have brought me to tears, and I'm just like, there's no way little old me made somebody feel like that.
I
That's
mean,
amazing.
but that's how it is, though. It's like it's a connection well formed because if you see someone, like you said, see someone that's like you doing what makes them happy, it like wants you to be a better person, like to be yourself. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in that aspect, it's like what's like a good comparison?
Hmm?
A good comparison.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not very good at those.
It's like when you watch a really good movie
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like you're with it all the way, so you want to like be aspire to be like that good of a person or like an influence in a way.
I completely understand what you mean. Part of the reason I originally got it in my head that I wanted to be a model was seeing a man named Sean Ross when I was a teenager. He was one of the first people on social media I had ever seen that had albinism. So not only did he have albinism, but he was a model. Like, he went to Paris in Fashion Week, and that was astounding to me and inspiring. And I was like, I want to make somebody feel the way he made me feel.
And now you do.
And like on a micro level, yeah, I would love to be able to. I don't think I want to make social media a career, but I definitely just want to do a few things and leave my mark and, make some little pale girls smile.
I know what you mean. I feel like that's kind of the thing we all want to do before we die.
Mm-hmm.
Is like to leave something behind.
Exactly.
It's like for me, I have no issue being a guy talking about depression because it has to be a thing that's talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So like many of my posts on Facebook or Twitter are about like being depressed because there's nothing really wrong with having those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So every now and again I post those updates or statuses and it's like someone telling me, hey, I feel this way because you made this post about it. And it made me realize I don't have to like feel bad about my feelings.
Exactly. Seeing people go through tough times, and once again, somebody that you can kind of relate to makes you feel really validated sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like you're not trying to, but you just want someone to understand like, hey, I know these feelings. I live in those thoughts and like you aren't really alone. Like it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to get help. It's okay to like do it your own way. But it's up to you to do those things. And like if someone judges you, that's on them and not really you.
Exactly. And most judgment just comes out from people who are hurting themselves, and they just aren't emotionally mature enough to actually say, oh, I might need help, or oh, I'm going through this. So their only way to cope is to shove those feelings down and try to knock other people down with them.
Yeah, and that's like the bad aspect of everything on social media because you do get those people where you talk about positivity, but there's someone that shoots it down so fast for no reason. And that's
You know
like,
what? Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You can go.
So something that absolutely shocked me. Um, I go live sometimes on TikTok, and I'll like do my makeup and I'll talk to people. And oftentimes I'll get a few children, few adults. It really just depends on the day. But one in particular, I'm not sure what their age was, but I was talking about depression. And someone was just like, stop trying to sound so woke. And I'm just like, I'm not trying to sound woke. I genuinely feel these ways about these things and think it's important to share that message with people, especially younger people when they do come through and like listen, just to hear like, oh, this is actually like really normal. And the fact that there's people who will shame people for oversharing, and I'd say that with like italics, like quotes, like I don't mean that you can't overshare, but it's just more so like, why do people have a problem with people sharing their emotions so bad?
That's something I question all the time because it's like as a guy, it's this stigma around you have to be a certain way, you have to do a certain thing, and then there's me who does none of that. So seeing people get mad about me sharing my feelings is kind of weird because it's like these are my feelings. If people have these feelings, they can share them. Like no one's stopping them from like being themselves. Like if they feel like they need to get help, they should get help. And there's always that person that's like they don't really need help. They just got to do these things, and it's like you don't know that. So it's this weird circle of you wanting to do good and preaching good, and this like a fly on the wall kind of thing of that person being there and making you try to tear you down for being a good person.
I think that everything has its place on social media. I personally try my best not to post too much about like the negative sides of mental health. Like I don't necessarily like to share when
The
I'm in
dark
the
days.
middle of like an anxiety attack or like the middle of like a depressive episode because sometimes that can be uncomfortable to people, but I know that those people who talk about that are necessary because everyone needs to be represented on some corner of the internet. So for me, I try to keep things positive for the most part. And if I do end up posting something that I'm like, that doesn't really fit like the positive brand that I'm trying to go for, I will delete it and have second thoughts about it because I do want someone to be able to come to my page and like think like, okay, this is just like a cute, bubbly girl. And sometimes, she talks about serious issues, but it's nothing that'll trigger anybody or make them feel like I'm a little too heavy sometimes. But like I said, I do think it's important that those corners of the internet do exist because someone might not realize that it is way more common to experience those things than they might think.
I know what you mean, and that is exactly my corner, honestly, because I don't have a problem talking about like the days where it gets like really dark and heavy, but it's never to like the full extent of here's A to Z. It's more so in a way that's like relatable. Like I'll talk about depression, I'll talk about the days where you don't want to do anything, or you don't have like the power to do anything. Never the full extent of like that whole process of like how you feel about the whole thing, because
Mm-hmm.
people read that and they go, "Oh, I have those days too," so it's completely okay to feel like I can't do this because mentally I can't, and like that's completely okay and normal. There's that. It's the same with anxiety. Like if you don't like crowds, there's plenty of people like that. Some people don't like being in a room where they can't see the door, like other things. Like that's completely normal. Like everything for a mental illness is simply you aren't alone in it. In some kind of way, there's always going to be someone that views stuff like you do or has like the same thoughts you do.
I lost my train of thought.
You're good. Take your time.
I had it right until I had to talk, and then it's just.
It'll come back.
It will later on. I got this.
But that's like where I'm at, I guess. Where I'm at now. Because it's like starting out on. It's really weird looking back. Like being on Facebook in the beginning, it's people you know, and now it's people you don't know, but it's people you can talk to about any kind of thing. It's like friend wise, you became friends one day, and then suddenly 3 hours in, it's like yeah, and here's my trauma from my childhood, and that person's like yeah, I got it.
I was gonna say, I think it's absolutely wild that even like aside from like feeling validated and seeing that things are more normal than usual than you might think they are, you also might realize that certain things that you do might be problematic that you didn't realize before, or they might be a symptom of mental illness, and maybe that could be the step to that pushes somebody to seek mental health like help and services because they're like, oh wait, I do a lot of those things. I thought I just had to live like this. Like some people don't realize that mental health, it's more common than you think, but also it can be treated.
That because like for men in particular, it's this whole aspect of masculinity. Like you growing up as a guy, there's always like this bar that people set for you, and it's really bad actually. So it's like if you're depressed, people are going to view that as something else when it's just actual depression. Like there's this whole slew of things that aren't normal that a lot of people, like a lot of men do, but it's just straight like a mental illness that they won't get help for.
I saw a tweet the other day that was like, some men are gonna I'm good them way into a depression and they need to stop that. And I was like, whoa.
I mean, yeah, they're kind of right. That's how it is. It's like it's always going to be that person that says like, "Yeah, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good," and it's like it's okay to like just say you're going through a lot and you might need help
Mm-hmm.
because at a point you're just going to hit that final "I'm good," and then no one's going to know like why everything happened.
But that's why I think it is important to have the soft boys on the internet.
You're welcome.
Self-proclaimed soft boy.
I mean, looking back, it's weird, but it's not weird because it's just the older you get, the more you realize you don't have to be like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's really no point. Like we're both from Griffin, so let's be real. Like we know what the people here are like. We know the city, and like like the stigma for the city. And when you're not on that, you're just doing your own thing for the most part.
You know what's actually so interesting? I didn't realize that some of the neighborhoods in Griffin were looked down upon when I was younger because I lived in them. And to me, that was just the neighborhood. Like, this is just where I lived. Everything was chill. I can tell you the day I realized that I lived in a quote unquote bad part of town. It was after like some church event. I didn't have a ride home, so this teenage girl drove me home. She was in the youth group, and I was a little bit younger, but I noticed as we were driving home, we hit a certain area in Griffin, and you'll know the area. We hit Merriweather.
Oh,
because I used to live over there, and she immediately locked her doors. I was giving her turn by turn directions, so I don't think she realized we were actually getting really close to where I lived. But yeah, she locked her doors, and I like, did that just cut me so deep? I was like, what the fuck's gonna happen to you? This is just my neighborhood. This is just where I live, and the fact that like someone's like scared of it made me feel some type of way.
that's how it is because it's like, especially in school, because it's all these groups of people together. You're like, oh, where do you live? Oh, I live on 8th Street, and they're like over there, and it's like, yeah, I live over there. It's where I live at.
I had another situation like that happen in high school. I remember my mother and I had moved out to High Falls, and High Falls is so long.
Yeah, it is.
And so it ranges from like not that nice to really nice. And I told somebody like, oh yeah, I live on High Falls. And they were like, oh, which part? I was like, and I kind of lied. I lied to them and they were like, oh, good, because the other part's ghetto. And I was just like, oh, gosh.
It's like you just live where you live. You can't help that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's weird when they're like, "Oh, it's the bad part of the city." It's like I live over there. It's just not that bad to me.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and especially like I was a little girl with albinism, the little like probably look raggedy as mess, running around in those streets, and nothing bad ever happened to me. It was just my home. It was just where I lived. That's where I played. And the fact that people are afraid of it, grown adults afraid of it, was crazy. And it really helped me realize how the other side viewed us in a sense.
Yeah, because once you, like in my case, literally once you pass the train tracks, it's considered like a bad part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I just live on the side of town my whole life. There's nothing bad about it. It's
exactly
just where I live at.
We live in Griffin, Georgia.
If you didn't know.
I was just gonna say, like, Griffin, Georgia, like, if you look at the crime rate alone, what's happening? Do you think we're just like having secret gang battles over there? You would know if something was happening.
That's how it is. Like, it's so weird because the city itself is small to the point where everybody knows everybody, even if you never met. But people will just assume, based off where you live, that shit goes down, and it doesn't.
But then again, there's people of Caucasian descent that never leave Griffin, that never do anything with their lives, that commit crimes, that do all of the things they're worried that we're doing.
And have a 5-star job.
Not even that. Some of them, they won't even have jobs. They'll just be like living off of someone or doing something like that. Yeah, living off of friends and other means. Meanwhile, you have Black kids from our neighborhoods who got like bachelors in mathematics, who are photographers, who are models, who are just doing amazing things. And we're not talking about that. We're locking our doors when we hit those neighborhoods because we're scared somebody's going to rob us. I don't even understand what they think's going to happen.
Or like we literally just chill, like we do what children do, like as kids. You don't care about the other side of town as a kid. As a kid, you're just like, I live here, I'm having fun with my friends, and that's it.
I hated the fact that I had to be embarrassed when people took me home. Not because I was literally embarrassed, but because I knew that they were going to act some type of way.
That's really how it was. Because it's like at Griffin High School, Griffin High School was like literally many minorities with white people. So it's weird going from Griffin High to home on a bus versus being dropped off by a friend. So like you said, that friend takes you home and they're like, you live here? And it's like, yeah, I do. Like, it's just my house. Like nothing bad happens over here. It's just a part of town. You live on the opposite side.
Speaking of social media though in Griffin, Georgia, the Spalding County discussion page.
The Spalding County discussion page, which I've been kicked off of so many times.
Oh, yeah, they kicked me out. I don't even remember what for. I was arguing with somebody about some type of ignorant thing, which it's funny because they're slowly kicking out all the radical black people and just leaving the radical white people. So I was literally like making a joke the other day, like it's slowly turning to like a KKK discussion page.
I mean, it basically already is. Like a few years ago, not even a few years, like 2018, when some old lady posted this news article. It was about police using an empty box truck full of like empty shoe boxes in a poor neighborhood to like entrap people and then arrest them. And she was like, "Oh, they're like arresting the criminals." And I'm like, "You can't commit a crime to get someone else and then call them criminals. That's not how that works."
That's literally called entrapment.
Yeah, I'm like, entrapment is worse than someone stealing empty shoe boxes. And that argument lasted for like 2 hours.
I'm always torn between wanting to minimize the amount of ignorance I see on my social media for my mental health, but also wanting to be an advocate. So that's why like social media auditing can be really important, and I kind of gauge it based off of how I'm doing at the moment. Like if I'm having a really rough mental health stint, then I will audit my social media down to be things that don't trigger anything, and then when I'm feeling a little better, I'll go back and
let's add the spark to this page. That's like adding the spark to everything. That's what I did. It's like I made a new Facebook because I'm like, you know what? There's really no point in having the old one. I wanted to start over again. At first, I was feeling just friends, family, people I talk to, and then it's like, all right, let's add everybody else and see where it goes. And I learned that is a terrible idea to begin with because some people you've never met just come on your post and it's just a strong opinion that is so wrong that's incomprehensible to me.
I had to block my sister's biological father because we got different dads. Because anytime I post any of my leftist opinions, he'd have to come and just like argue with me and talking about how that's not what God would want and all this other things. I remember the straw that broke the camel's back. I had made some post about abortion, and this was back when, Georgia was really trying to crack down on abortion laws and like try to make it illegal.
Yeah.
So it was a really hot ticket item right then. And he was just like making all these comments about how it's murder and yada yada, the typical things. But what just killed me and just like really, I was just like, I cannot deal with this man was, you have albinism, and how would you feel it if we just started murdering babies? Like if we could find out that they had albinism in the womb and we just like in the womb and we just like killed them, how would you feel? Because you probably would have like not been born. I'm like, okay. And
those are fighting
I
words.
wouldn't know the difference. You're not going to try to like turn this against me by trying to make it more relatable. I still feel how I feel. I'm consistent, baby. But I was like, nah, I can't deal with this man anymore. And then I thought it was so funny because he wanted to be hurt when he talked to my sister, like, Chris, I guess she's mad at me. I'm like, no, I'm not mad at you. But like from my own mental health, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
I feel that. In this weird aspect, since the past few weeks on social media about all the protests and everything, that I made this post about cops. And I specifically said that you can literally be the greatest cop to do your job. But if someone messes up, you're all in that together. There's no individuality. And this person messaged me that I've been friends with, and she kind of proved my whole point when I was like that cops are just bad. Because she was like, well, my dad did these things, and I'm like, you proved the whole point of the post.
That really reminds me of the people who are all posting. It's like they almost make satire of themselves because you're like, you wouldn't say that in front of a cop because they beat your ass. And we're like, that's the point.
That's kind of the whole point. It's like, you're
They
right.
shouldn't
If
do
I
that.
did say that, then yeah, I would get my ass beat. And it'll be a protest that day. So it doesn't add up.
I'm not trying to be on a protest sign.
That's all I'm at. It's like, I don't want to be on a shirt with like wings. Clouds. It's like Trevor Noah once said. He passed a cop on a highway. It wasn't like speeding or anything, and the cop pulled him over. It's like, why? It's like cops have a job. It is to protect and serve. If a cop does something wrong and they get in trouble, 50 cops walking out kind of proves the point of something's way off about the whole thing.
I was listening to something, probably another podcast. I'm not 100% sure, or I'd shout them out. But they were just basically saying that because there's so little training involved in becoming a police officer, oftentimes people who aren't the brightest become police officers, and then they start talking to their not that bright friends, and they're like, dude, it's really easy. Like, all you got to do is like take a few classes and you're a police officer. And then it just kind of like, you get all these like ignorant, not well-educated people running around with guns and hotheads, and it's just not good.
Yes, like I seen this post today. It was about, I don't know what state it was. It was like a state is now requiring cops to have high school diplomas before before applying to be a cop.
It's like, wait a goddamn minute. Why is that already a requirement?
So I'm like, you're telling me there are cops with GEDs being cops. For the record, a GED isn't horrible. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying as a cop, it looks really bad.
It takes more hours to get a cosmetology degree than it does to become a police officer.
It takes more hours to do anything than before becoming a police officer. Like, to literally do hair professionally, that takes a long time.
I just think that the police force is in charge of too many things, and they need to be, in a sense, disbanded and rebuilt, because the same people who are pulling people over for traffic violations do not need to be the same people who are called when there's an active shooter somewhere.
That's like a point, because someone posted on TikTok that you can literally defund the police and rebuild them. Preferably, like for domestic abuse, you can have someone show up that knows like that whole process and system versus a normal cop who doesn't.
I think that mental health workers need to be utilized more in general. Like, for instance, like you just said, with domestic abuse, maybe a social worker should come out who is used to being around things like that. For someone who might be having a mental health episode and other people are worried about them, maybe a mental health professional should come out. Like, wellness checks, why are they done with police officers with guns? Why can't they be done by mental health professionals?
So, side note, if someone is having like a breakdown, do not call the police. Don't do that. But yeah, back to this. So it's weird because police have literally this huge funding like schools don't have and like no one else has. It's like military and then cops have like the most funding. And it's kind of wild because it's all that power for no reason. It was like, I think it was either last week or the week before when 2 cops pushed down the old dude and he is in the hospital and he can't move. And they're just like, and it's what it is. It's like, no, like cops shouldn't have that power at all. And luckily we live in an age where everything's online. So you see everything and there's no hiding what cops do or don't do because it's all right there at face value.
I remember when I feel like school shootings and also police brutality started really picking up in the public eye back in around like 2015, 16. And that was like the real rise of social media.
Everyone was like more aware. Yeah, these things always happen, but like at that point, it just turned so far left that we were just like, all right, wait a minute. Like, this is not okay.
I do wonder if things have become more tense more recently, or if it seriously has always been exactly like this. Because I remember I was talking with someone a few years back, and they were just saying, and it was a black woman, surprisingly. She was just saying that she understands police brutality does happen, but she does believe a lot of it stems from the tension between the black community and police officers, and the fact that they're so on edge because they do feel like it's an us versus them situation. And I'm wondering, has it always been like that, or like we were just talking about, is it just because it's more documented now?
I feel like it's both. Like there are more police in heavily black neighborhoods, so it does keep people like on edge all the time. But now it's documented when like something goes south. So it's like, hey, this is what we mean when we say these things.
That is true. And I hate when people try to misinterpret the statistic that more black people are arrested than white people. When in all actuality, that's really messed up because black people only make up
They're
14% of the population.
Yeah, I saw that today on a friend's post. This dude came and tried to do that whole thing about how Black Lives Matter are just like radicalists, all this stuff. But it's like black people literally make up like 14%, but they get incarcerated at a faster rate than anybody else for the same crime. They get charged and do more time for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I wouldn't know that if I didn't read a news article on Facebook. I really wouldn't. But it's wild to think that people have these strong negative opinions and don't do the research when it's right there.
Okay, so I listen to the Side Note podcast a lot because I'm very interested in like current events in the science community. But they were talking about how the reason that misinformation spreads so rampant is because there's a paywall to genuine research, and like genuine research in scientific journals. It's a lot easier to Google, statistics and quick facts, or see a Facebook post. Like, not everybody's going to pay, $60 to get access to a scientific journal that's actually doing the research and like studying all of these things. And that's why the public does tend to be so misinformed.
That is a fact. Looking back, it's like the news sites, like for instance, really any news site, they have this. You got to pay monthly to like read a news article,
Mm-hmm.
and it shouldn't be that way. It's like, why does someone pay to like know information?
Those are going to be the higher quality news sources too. That's the saddest part. But then again, I understand that they do need income. I just wish that there was maybe some type of like government funded agencies that had public research, and it was just easier for the public to get informed on certain issues.
In a perfect world, because like you go on Google and type in literally anything, it brings up over thousands upon thousands of like the same results, and it's just literally all different articles built the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Versus one that has a research, but it's like 60 a month, and you're like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I've caught myself spreading misinformation from time to time because you can't afford, and you don't have time to actually do legitimate research sometimes. And it's kind of tough when you do want to be an advocate and an activist for a certain cause when it's hard for you to get all the information yourself.
That, and then people just have the aspect of like phoning a friend about information, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't help anything either. Because like sometimes they're right or they're really wrong, and you're like, oh, they're so right, and it's like they're really not.
For the most part, I try to turn to professionals on the internet to get information, and that's been doing me pretty well. Like, as far as like the legal aspects of the Black Lives Matters movements and what we can do, I've been turning to like lawyers and just certain politicians. You got to be careful there, and it's a lot better to go straight to a professional that delves in that field than to just Google an article from BuzzFeed.
Because it's like straight information. It's like here's A, B, and C versus just straight here's what you can do, and then like subset, and that goes nowhere.
That's why I do think social media can be wonderful at times, because I don't know any lawyers, but I can go find a lawyer on YouTube that's talking about legal issues that I've genuinely been curious about. Like, I
For
don't
free.
know any doctors for free, exactly. and they're getting paid and I'm supporting them in a way, and it works out and it's really nice. Like if you were to go to talk to a lawyer in person, I doubt they'd wanted to have a conversation, you know?
Yeah, they'd be like, "Here you go, $5,000 for 20 minutes," and you're like, "I gotta go."
So that's the beauty of social media. It gives you access to people that you wouldn't have had access to before. I mean, even like at the beginning of the conversation, we were saying just like even people, like regular people who just you can relate to. But also that, but it also ranges to like professionals.
That's like, I guess, my favorite aspect of like social media. It's like you said, like on YouTube. Like YouTube has like everything. If you need advice, if you need therapy, if you need news, it's all there, and it's all free to you. But literally by watching, you're helping them get like money.
The educational content on YouTube has really been getting good lately, and
It's
that's been super
astronomical
exciting. Mm-hmm.
because it's free education that gets kids' attention or like anybody's attention. If you don't know something, you can literally go to YouTube, type in homework for XYZ, and there you go.
I swear to you, my algebra class that I took a few semesters back, I learned everything from YouTube, from Khan Academy videos, and I can't really think of any other channels at the moment, but like smaller channels. They taught me math from like A to Z because my teacher just didn't teach in a way that I could absorb.
And most teachers don't, and that's when you go to YouTube and it's like, here you go, here's the breakdown of it, the true breakdown. And it's like for me as an artist going on YouTube, it's such a fast learning process because you see like the process of how it's done versus you go on Google and here's a statement on how to do it. But YouTube is like visually, here's how to do it, here's how to blend it, here's how to do like all this stuff. And I'm like, I want to know how to do that without anybody.
Exactly. I feel like it's really helped. Social media in general is really helping bridge the gap for income and information, because there was a period of time where if you didn't have money to go to school, you just couldn't learn something, or you had to be self-taught and you might not know the more technical aspects of a field, still setting you back. But places like YouTube, Crash Course, oh my goodness, like even for like my classes, I love watching Crash Course videos. And even when I just want to know more information on certain topics, they're fascinating, they're fun, they're easy to digest, they're quick, and it's just as good of education as I could get in the classroom, but it's free.
And free makes it, I don't want to say it makes it good, but it makes it more comprehensible because it's right there at face value.
I think, like I said, the beauty of social media, and especially educational social media, is like it does bridge that gap between people who might not have access to certain luxuries like school.
That, or like even now during Corona, especially like with school being out, parents like, here you go, like here's YouTube and here's like things to learn. And it really works. That's like the wild part about it.
Yeah, everyone wasn't born to be a teacher, so I imagine a lot of parents were struggling, but thankfully they had the internet to turn to maybe help their children out because they didn't have that instant answer of having the teacher in front of them.
Yeah, because I know for math has changed a lot. So it's easy to go on YouTube and like, hey, how to do like this certain type of math equation, and like there's a video on it, and it's easy to grasp,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just pays off with the kid. Or like in college, it pays off a lot in college.
And also just learning skills in general. Like you just mentioned, you go to YouTube for art. Like I go to YouTube for hair videos and just like to get ideas for crafting and stuff. It just makes life a little bit more fun, a little bit easier.
And that's like my favorite part. It's like, especially on boring days where you want to learn something new, you can. Like, if you want to build a bomb, not saying I would ever do this, but if you ever wanted to build a bomb, you go on YouTube and it's right there. If you want to like learn how to fix a car, it's right there.
Sometimes social media can help satiate your dark side too. I know there's a period of time where I was watching a lot of videos on like miscellaneous drugs. Like I don't want to try them, but I can at least watch this person tell me what it's like.
That's not like my favorite aspect of it. Is like dark YouTube. It's like I
Mm.
would never do any of these things, but for like my sake, I gotta know like how it works.
Speaking of the drug videos on YouTube, I'll watch like former meth addict videos, former um coke addict videos, and I think one of the saddest parts about them is hearing them discuss the positive sides of them, because they sometimes people will describe like a meth trip so beautifully, but then it's like all the negative repercussions come in. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why you shouldn't
You're
do
like,
it.
yeah, I don't like that in like 2 years, in like 2 weeks.
I think it's crazy. I remember I was watching one guy talk about it, and he was saying that after he quit meth, this turned into like a not even once campaign, real quick. He said that after he stopped doing meth, it took him a year to feel happiness on his own, and I was like, ooh,
It took some people 6 years, so I'm like, I know what he means. Not
that's
personally, but I
crazy.
know what he means.
I feel like I got friends in different places.
Yeah, basically. So I know what he means by the aspect of it. And it's like, it makes me happy to see before and after, like on YouTube and social media, because you're like, oh, this thing is bad, but I'm glad they overcame that. Like, I like going on Facebook and seeing someone post like positive stuff versus a year ago, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like you've changed and things have changed, and I'm like, I'm happy for you.
I actually got a message from somebody from high school that had just been peeping through my social media, and they were just like, I'm so happy to see you doing good. And I was like, someone noticed.
So that's like my favorite part. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I know I got a message a few years ago. I was talking about my suicide attempt, and then I got this random out of the blue thing, and it was just straight up, "Hey, I'm glad you posted that. I know we didn't talk a lot in school, but it's nice seeing you like do like really well." And I'm like, "Thank you for that. I really needed that."
I think what's almost more important than talking about your struggles is showing people that they don't define you and that you can grow from them.
That's actually really true, because at a point, it was like last year. I was last year this time. It was like really dark, and then now it's the complete opposite. It's like, yeah, I have depression and anxiety, but they don't really define who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, they're a part of me, but they're mine to deal with, and I'm just myself.
And I know it taken from personal experience that when you are in your lower times, it can genuinely feel like it's never going to get better. And even though seeing somebody on social media is a little impersonal and it might not make you feel better in the moment, it at least plants that seed in your head like, oh no, wait, I can get through this. Like, I can get better. And I think that is a beautiful aspect of social media.
That's like what I learned from seeing like YouTube videos about depression and everything. It's that either way you're going to grow. Like, that's inevitable. Whether it be good and then you dip to bad again, it's still going to be good again. It's realizing that you can really shape your own life, and it's okay for it to take a while. It's okay for it to be a few months or a few years. Like, nothing works out instantly. It's like you have dark days, you have good days, and like it's okay to have both.
I think it's even good to show when things go back downhill or to show your failures, because one, it shows people that healing and progress isn't linear. It's gonna ebb and flow, it's gonna dip and spike, but at the end you can always make it go back up. Like, there's always things that you can do to get back on the right track. And it's good to see other people's failures because it lets you know, like, oh wait, we're humans. Oh, I forgot.
That's like my favorite aspect. It was like I was telling a coworker that, man, you're 19. You're gonna have a lot of bad days. Like, that's just a guarantee. You're gonna have days where you are like really low, and you will not be prepared for it at all. It's going to hit you like a brick, and that's okay for that to happen. It's okay to like get in that spot, because you can literally just go up from there. It's going to go down and up again, but it's like you have a life to live. It's up to you to like literally just form that whole thing.
I think that people on the internet that try to sell like a fantasy, that try to make it seem like their life is just absolutely wonderful, like, I got the house, I got the cars, I got the body because I can afford it. And I think that's actually super, super damaging because we need to normalize that not every day is going to be a wonderful day.
Yeah, same. That's like why I have an issue with people that are overly positive all the time. So I'm like, it's okay to just say this shit sucks. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. If something
I
shitty happened, it's just straight up, I'm sad, and it's okay.
I also think we need to normalize body neutrality, because I know the body positive movement has been a big thing for a while now. But just like not every day is going to be a good day, not every day you're going to absolutely love your body. So that's when you need to be able to fall back and be like, you know what? I don't like my arms today, but they're arms. They grab things. They
They
help
can
me get up.
reach.
They put the pizza in my mouth. Life would be pretty hard without these arms. So I think that they're doing just what they're supposed to be doing today. Because, you know, if you just have such black and white thinking of there's either body positivity or body negativity, then when you're not feeling so great about your body, it's going to hit you like a truck.
It's like the aspect of like when you're younger, you're like, oh, I look this certain way. And then when you're older and looking back, you're like, I look better than I did now. And it's like we just all change. Like our body's our body. It's just like
I mean, for the most part, I think everyone's body's amazing. It's doing just what it needs to do, you know?
I mean, unless you're racist, then you just kind of a blob of existence in my eyes.
Oh my goodness. I think one of my biggest pet peeves on social media is seeing women apologize for looking rough. Oh, I didn't have enough time for the makeup, guys, or this or that, or like, I just look so rough today. And I think we just need to normalize, like we're not gonna always feel the best. We're not always gonna look the best, but that doesn't change.
Who you are.
Yeah, it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't make you any less of a person. And the fact that women feel like they need to look beautiful and just sexy 24/7 is ridiculous. We're not one-dimensional people. We're not Barbie dolls. We are people. We eat, we sleep, we poop. We do things that aren't necessarily the cutest all the time, but
You're human.
yeah.
It's like men that wear makeup and they're rough all the time, and we're just like, it is what it is. It's like it's the same for girls too. It's like you don't need to like wear makeup. Like I know some people don't wear makeup at all,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, like you look rough. It's like they are just themselves. Like they don't need makeup to look any kind of way.
That's why I kind of like to treat makeup like an accessory. Like, I really do like makeup. It's really fun for me. And I think that in certain situations, it can enhance your beauty, but it's not something I need, because at the end of the day, makeup's not going to change anything about me. It's just like something I wear for fun.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. It's just it's weird living in a society where on social media you see all of these things, and then it's just like when you see someone without, it's like, what are you doing? And it shouldn't be that way.
Right. You stick out more if you don't like put on a full face of makeup and, you know, like heels, and like if you see somebody like post like a picture where they're decked out to the gods, just like wig, waist trainer, all that stuff, you're just like, yes, queen, slay. And then we see another picture of a girl in a t-shirt and sweatpants, it just doesn't compare, and we're just like,
But literally, like Drake said, he even had a whole lyric about it, and we're just like, no.
I have unpopular opinion. I think Drake's overrated.
You know, you're not alone in that opinion. There are people that think that way, but
But they're wrong.
I mean, I don't hate Drake. It's just he's one of those people.
I don't hate Drake. I never said I hated Drake. He's overrated. Like, there's some people who even say he's the GOAT. And I'm just like, he's good at making music for the time. Like, he's good at putting out like something that's gonna be popular and be like a club banger. And okay, maybe I think, isn't Scorpion like the sadder one?
I don't know.
I'm not 100. I'm not a Drake stan by any means. I'm probably so wrong. There's probably a Drake stan right now screaming at me. But I think he makes popular music for the time, but I don't think anybody's gonna be 15 years from now and hear Hotline and be like, "Oh, turn it up."
That's how it is with Redbone. Because man, when Redbone hit, like social media that whole week was just straight that song. And I feel like that's the song I'm gonna hear in like 50 years and be like, it takes me back.
You're gonna have grannies be like, ooh. It's like,
Yeah, basically, what song is this? You don't want to know.
y'all know nothing about this, but it's Redbone.
And I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it like on my iPhone 35.
Oh my goodness. You remember the memes when they first made like what was the first big iPhone? iPhone 6? They had a plus
It was
version?
iPhone 6. iPhone 6s Plus.
I remember when that first came out and all the memes were like iPhone 10 and it was just like a foot long.
It was that, or with iPhone 11 or like iPhone 23. It was like just 23 cameras on it. And I'm like probably.
That's so funny because those are such dated memes at this point. Because now we're at like iPhone 10s Max, and we're all just like, yeah, it is what it is.
We still buy the same phone. That's like the bad aspect of it.
We be complaining, and we still are the first ones to buy the new one. Like, man, I fucking hate Apple. Ooh, when's the new drop?
It's like I hate my iPhone X. I got rid of it. What you getting? iPhone 11. And you're like, why? It's like I don't know at this point.
Why do we? There's like a certain subset of people that just genuinely wouldn't feel right with an Android, and
That's where
I'm
I'm at.
calling myself out because I'm
like,
one of them.
Like I don't hate Android, but I can't.
It
Like
doesn't feel right.
like the phone could literally cure cancer. I'm like, you know what? I'll get an iPhone. Like
I
what?
completely understand. I think part of it is like we're artsy people, and I feel like objectively speaking, and I know people like, no, that's an opinion. No, objectively speaking, they just look better.
They do. I'm like, what do you like about the phone? The look. That's all I got.
That's not all I got. And I also have like a few Apple products, and I love the ecosystem. It makes me feel like such a bougie bitch when I airdrop something to my iPad. I'm like, yes.
Like for me, I like the camera does it. The portrait mode, it hits just right, and I'm like,
I know there's people who are just like, actually, the Android cameras are better, but baby,
I mean, actually, I don't really care.
Your app developers aren't better. So when you upload it to Instagram, it looks like you filmed it on a toaster.
It's like I told someone, like, I can't do Android for this simple reason. I don't like Google like that on the phone. Because Google's like that security that busts in your house every hour on the hour, every time you log in. Like, who are you? It's me.
Okay, I'm kind of a hypocrite because certain Google products I do like more. Like Google Maps undefeated, Apple Maps trash. I hate it for us, but oh well. And also Chrome, Safari can eat ass.
Yeah,
hate it.
I use Chrome too.
Is where it's at.
But the aspect of the Android phone, I just can't do that. I can't do Google security on any kind of phone. I can't deal with the same questions every time I log in a new device.
I can't bear the idea of someone seeing me send them a green text.
That's what I'm at. Like, what are you texting? I texted broke. If you have an Android, I'm sorry. In advance. But that's where I'm at. I'm like, if you send me a green text, I just, at that point, I question the friendship. I really do.
It doesn't hit the same.
Because, like, if I react to your text, you won't see it.
One of my closer friends switched to Android, and I'm not even trying to be funny. They sent me a video, and it looked like it was filmed on a Razr flip phone.
I haven't heard of a Razr in a good 10 years.
There's a reason. They had a touchscreen, like keyboard little contraption they put out a few years ago. They tried to be hip, and I was like, ooh.
I read about that. I'm like, you guys are doing your best, but at this point, you're either Android or iPhone or you're not.
Watch. We're going to eat our words. In like 10 years, Razr's going to make a comeback. They're going to have like 37 cameras.
Holographic keyboard. And you're like,
cure cancer.
Like, huh, I'll get it then. But until that day, until then, I'm getting an iPhone.
I can't go back at this point. I'm just so used to it. I'm like so old when it comes to this. I refuse to learn anything else.
I'm like too far in. That's my problem. Like, I got my first iPhone in 2013. I'm like, I understand.
I think that's when I got my first one. Also, like, especially when you're younger, it was just a power move to have an iPhone.
It was a weird flex. Like, what do you got? iPhone?
I will admit, I had a friend who got the 6 Plus when it came out because his family had a good amount of money, and I used to think he was so freaking pretentious when he just used his phone. He didn't even have to like say anything about it. He just pull it out to text and I'm like, ugh.
And it's like, it's so funny looking back, like, at apps back then, because they all look so ugly. And we were like, this is it. And you're like, no, it really isn't.
You know what's crazy? When Snapchat first came out and it was just Snapchatting people, I didn't use it. I didn't use it until they got the stories feature. And I used to just be like, why is everybody using Snapchat? What is this nonsense?
Snapchat is the best way to message somebody. And that's really all it is. If you want to have an evening conversation that you won't remember, Snapchat.
I mean, I do like sending pictures on Snapchat. I'm not going to lie because I don't like having to have a bunch of pictures in my messages. It's quick, it's easy. I'm not saying Snapchat is bad. I'm just saying when it first came out,
It was horrible.
everyone was using it though because it was like something new, something fresh. Like, but still, it was nonsense at first.
And now it's like it's upgraded a lot since then. For me, what my favorite thing to see is like screenshots, because like at that point, and it's funny to me all the time, especially when someone is like trying to keep a secret, because that screenshot ruins it all. What did you do? I screenshotted it. Why?
I've gotten in trouble a few times on Snapchat. And part of it was like I was like casting my phone to the TV, and so it was telling everyone I was like screenshotting their text, but I wasn't. It was just like casting, and it told everybody. Just like little stuff like that has happened. I will admit, I have like a like guilty pleasure, like in like I like some of the Snapchat shows.
Then there was one that came out a few months ago about zombies, and I'm like, this is so dumb, and I'm like, please keep going, because
I know.
it's, I don't know, like Snapchat is like, it's entertaining when it can be.
Would it be absolutely crazy if I used the restroom?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna put you down. I'm leaving. Bye.
Bye. I'll be here.
I'm back.
Okay, you're back, and we got like 5 more minutes.
Okay. I think it's interesting that our conversation veered a lot towards like mental health and police brutality because I feel like those are really big topics on social media right now because of all the circumstances. It seems like the perfect hellstorm to not be doing the best right now. And like I mentioned auditing social media earlier, it is important and it is completely okay to unplug from certain things for a little bit. Like you don't have to feel like a monster for unplugging from the Black Lives Matter movement for a little bit. Like you are your first priority, and I think it's really important to make sure you take care of yourself first because you're not going to be much help for other people if you're not running on all cylinders.
I love that, actually, because that's completely right. Like, some people take a break for months or years, and they come back, and they're like, "Hey guys, like, where did you go?" It's like, spiritual trip, and you understand that it's like unplugging for a while and coming back in. It does you a certain amount of good because you know yourself at that point, and you're like, you know yourself, you know the posts you want to talk to, and everything, and that's all you. And especially now, like you said, with everything going on, it's fine to step away from that. Like, no one's going to judge you from just being like, I need a break to like to process everything. I should do that, actually. I need to take a break from social media, but I can't because podcasting will be my new life.
It's strange. Like I want to take a break from social media, but I feel like I've gotten a little momentum recently. So I'm like, I really should put in a lot of work right now, and then maybe I could take a little break a little bit down the line when things start to level off.
A little momentum? You mean over 140,000?
Hey, say, I feel like in terms of TikTok, that's not really that much. Like
I
it's
mean,
so
it's a lot more than I've seen from most people.
I don't know. Maybe I just have my expectations too high. I feel like people don't actually take you seriously on TikTok until you have like 1 million followers.
That or like, you can dance a savage.
But they're the people with millions of followers.
They don't count though. It's just they don't count. They're excluded from this conversation.
I wish that was the case. You know, I like TikTok because I like the fact that there's people getting followings who you would probably have never given a second glance. And I think it's important to see that you don't have to be like thin or tan or you look any type of way to get your voice heard. And like it's important for the people whose voices are being heard, and it's important for the people who are hearing the voices.
That's my favorite thing. It's like you can look quote unquote basic, and people will like love you for it, versus people that don't, because like you're like relatable, and that's like the ultimate thing at that point.
I think the conclusion is that you truly just need to be yourself and people will appreciate it because there's someone out there that feels the way you feel, who looks the way you look, who struggles with the same things that you struggle, and it's important that they hear somebody else who's going through it.
And with that being said, those are the facts, and that concludes the podcast for tonight.